because it's going to be a good time. And
so let's talk about SMG's lineup today. They are missing someone.
Missing a pretty frequent player that we tend to see here, and unfortunately he's been having PC issues. I saw some tweets, I saw some messages on Skype asking how to fix something. I think his PSU is Ripperoni and Cheese.
And who is that?
And that is Mr. Wade Penfold, also known as Dreadnought.
Dreadnought, yes, the warrior player for SMG has been subbed out today. It looks as though they are having Glaurung from Glorious Gaming, who is not participating. I believe ZP is out on travel this week, so they have opted to not participate this week. Thus, Glaurung is available. He has opted to sub in for SMG.
You know,
that appears to be the case.
With the game only being in technical alpha, there are very few subs that exist for teams right now, because most subs say, well, why would I be a sub? If I'm good enough to be a sub for Symbiote, I'm good enough to be on a team. So they're just going to be like, well, I'm going to play on my own team, make my own team, and they just put together their own squads. And, well, it looks like the pick ban process is underway, so we're going to switch over.
Oh, it's underway.
And
we have some strange bans. SMG has banned out Muradin, and Wildfire has banned out Zeratul. I get the Zeratul. You got Glaurung. Glaurung is obviously very scary with Zeratul. Muradin, perhaps, I've heard that Muradin is a strict hard counter to Witch Doctor. Thoughts on that? Perhaps they have a plan to run Witch Doctor this game. We will have to see.
It's entirely possible. We can look at the drafts here. We can see that Symbiote Gaming is, in fact, rocking Falstad, Tychus, Arthas so far. And on the other half, we already have Stitches, Vala, Uther, and Tassadar. Now, Stitches, that's Glaurung's other big pick.
This is true.
Poom, being the warrior of ESV Wildfire, says, you know what, Glaurung? You like Stitches, you like Zeratul, we're giving you neither.
They took away everything that he loves. It's gone.
The respect is there for Mr. Glaurung. And it looks like we're going to see Nazeebo Malfurion. So yeah, they ban out Muradin and they pick up Nazeebo, making sure that counterplay isn't available. Now, the hook is always going to be a threat for the Nazeebo, but you can block the hook with the Wall of the Dead. You can block.
We saw that,
Yeah, we saw that play by, I believe it was Jinte that did that play.
Yes.
And we also, also players can body block for the hook as well. So that's cool. You called it.
I did.
And
yes.
Well done. Well done, Coobs.
Yeah. So exactly that. Muradin has a ton of stuns available to him, especially if he grabs the Avatar Heroic, which is a stun, a mini stun. Maybe it's like a quarter-second stun. Every auto attack that he hits. Also, he has Stormhammer. You can stun on the leap if you talent into that. Just his whole kit is stuns, stuns everywhere. So that's obviously going to ruin the channel of Ravenous Spirit, which is where you get a ton of utility out of Nazeebo.
Whoa, Kerrigan is their final pick here.
Kerrigan is their final pick. They need to round out with a bit more damage. I can understand that for sure.
Now, you guys can't see it on the stream. I'm just verifying. They type it in the chat, and then it might take them a while to pick. There you see it. Now you see it. But you know what? They have Kerrigan for a bit of, the dive initiation. Now, the middle character isn't present there, but you can see on the right, Tassadar is missing for ESV Wildfire. And on the left side, who's missing there? It's actually Nazeebo not showing up. So those are the 5-man teams. Kind of protect Nazeebo kind of style. You have two really, really hard-hitting range DPS. Falstad, actually 3. Falstad, Tychus, and Nazeebo. What am I thinking? That's terrifying. That's so much range damage output. It's actually... and you have both Entangling Roots and Howling Blast to really just lock down and zone for Nazeebo and all, everyone in general. And what we've seen in the past, it's been quite some time since we've seen this, but we would actually see the Tychus hop in his Odin and pretty much just stand next to Nazeebo and just play like Guardian mode. Like you don't expect that, but it's like, okay, try to attack him here because you're gonna have a bad time.
Yes, and I think also the Kerrigan pickup. I don't know if you just mentioned this. Sorry, I was trying to sort out some things in the lobby. It's possibly just another disrupt. They need stuns to deal with Nazeebo, so she might be, you might see her waiting, holding some of her abilities until that Ravenous Spirit goes off. She's got the pull that will interrupt it. She has the spikes underneath that can also interrupt. So it's possible that they just sort of were like, oh crap, they have a Nazeebo, and they waited until the very end to pick that. So we need to come up with some other way to stun because they have Stitches, but that's really the big one that they have.
Yeah, well, you're right. Stitches is, of course, a big one indeed, and We're actually starting out on the right side of the map. Something different here. Why don't we get the overlay up and running? That is not the overlay.
Hey, guys.
Also not the overlay. All right, yes, there we go. Third time's the charm. All right, Coops, why don't you introduce us to our ESV Wildfire
Okay,
lineup.
yes. So we have Iacona running Uther. Poom will be playing Stitches this game. Pickles on Kerrigan. War Draymond on Vala. And to round it out, we have Bims on Tassadar.
And from the side of Symbiote Gaming, we have Glaurung playing as Arth. It's not Dreadnought like we said.
Yep.
Over on Malfurion, it's going to be Mad Timmy. Arthlon, Rock, and Tychus Soldier will be playing as Nazebo. And last but not least, Falsad being played by KO. So, you know, a little bit of a mix-up from what we typically see out of SMG. This is much different than the lineups, the rosters that we saw being played out of them last week. This is a huge shift, but
of course,
it's going to be fun to see either way.
So, yeah, Glaurung is not typically the warrior player on Glorious Gaming, so I wasn't sure what role he was going to fit into.
Well, he does play Stitches, so I mean...
yeah, that's true. He has, obviously, he can play a lot of heroes, but we have seen Soldier in the past also rotate if they're playing double warrior, so I wasn't sure if they're going to have Soldier just run the warrior for the series, or maybe Glaurung will fill in, and that does appear to be the case. Glaurung is going to be playing Arthas this game, of course.
So, Coops, do we have anything interesting on the talents here? Is it pretty standard stuff? Oh, we have a lot of damage going on on Mad Timmy as he backs up. The hook goes down, but Poom's not going to secure the kill. Arth, is, in fact, going to be falling here.
And that was all made possible to the first talent that Stitches took. He is going to be going a Slam build likely this game. Took the upgraded damage on Slam. That was just enough to give him the damage to kill out Arthlon on Tychus. So, also, that's going to be playing right into having the stuns available for Nazebo's Ravenous Spirit. Of course, we see a lot of things going back to that Ravenous Spirit. You say, why is it so important that they deal with this Ravenous Spirit? Well, I'll tell you why. That perhaps won Cloud9 Maelstrom, you know, at least part of that series in the grand finals of last week's Kings of the Storm qualifier. So you can bet that a lot of people have been playing Witch Doctor in the meta.
Yes, Nazebo was so successful for Maelstrom that we actually saw a respect ban come out of Symbiote, and then that allowed Maelstrom to grab Vala, Tychus, Falstad last week. So Symbiote went back to the drawing board and said, okay, this Nazebo dude seems pretty good, let's give it a try. And we're seeing SMG running them 1 week later. So very cool stuff there. Currently just the 1 kill lead here for Wildfire. Experience pretty darn even, and but experience, I mean, any level lead on Cursed Hollow or any map in general is a big deal. Because level 10, those tribute fights.
Absolutely, that can, I mean, if you time it out so that you're about a level ahead going into that 3rd tribute, that makes a huge deal.
It does,
and that can single-handedly secure you a curse to push out the other enemy's lanes. So you are going to see teams obviously vying out to get that advantage lead. But the timing is a little bit more important than you would think.
Well, we see Poom here trying to cap. They're not going to let that Glaurung just waiting the maximum amount of time here. Going to show himself and unveil. Now Soldier able to zone pretty well here. KO might actually get the cap here with no contest at all. So the first tribute here going in favor. And meanwhile, Arthlon has stayed in the bottom lane the entire time to soak against Bims.
He has Melting Point Grenade as well, which increases damage of grenade versus minions and structures. We see him making plenty of use out of that. And we also saw a...
Oh, that wow! Very well done. Just goes straight up knowing that that Primal Grasp was coming down. Expected it, dodged it. Beautifully done.
Nice job. Nice job from Arthlon there. And yeah, like I was saying, we have a change in the tune from SMG's strategy from last week, of course. In the last qualifier that we saw them playing, they were sort of ignoring those tributes. Maybe not necessarily ignoring completely, but they weren't prioritizing taking those tributes.
No, definitely not. Well, a lot of damage going down here. That grenade pushing Pickles back where he doesn't want to be. He's going to fall. Bims should be able to get out of here. No, actually doesn't have his cooldown available, so he does die very quickly. And Iacona is now pressed with three members of Symbiote going to be pushing this bottom lane. That tower is going to fall, and they might even opt to push forward the fort, but the tribute's going to be coming up any second now.
And this is starting to play into that scenario that we were talking about earlier. They have just about a half-level lead if things continue like they're going. If they scrap up a couple more kills before that final tribute, and they happen to collect this one as well, things are going to really start getting out of hand for ESV Wildfire. They just won't be able to contest that curse, and it's going to give them a huge pushing advantage going into the mid and late game.
Definitely. I mean, half-level lead here for Symbiote right now, but Pickles going in hard, and Arthlon dodging once again, just dashing forward to the side. Pickles going to try to cap, but the members of SMG are going to make their way down, actually opting not to at all. So they're just doing delay tactics, seeing if they can stall.
That was it. He needed that. He needed that route to stall that tribute. Didn't have it. Man, did you see that play that Arthlon made, though? He knew exactly when that grasp was coming, and he used his cooldown for his dash.
Yeah, wrong way to dodge. So smart. Very well done. Nicely played. More and more we're seeing players just getting smarter with their jukes and playing at a higher level.
You know anyone on SMG that plays Kerrigan?
There's a few guys, actually.
Maybe Arthlon does. He knows these tricks.
He does.
So I mean, that's obviously a huge advantage to playing a very versatile pool of heroes. You know what to expect. And obviously, he knew what was coming in that situation. He said, what would that Kerrigan player do? Oh, I know what I would do. Bam. Dodge is just like probably there before he even pressed the button to do the Primal Grasp.
Now, already, 5 minutes in, level 10 has been achieved here for Symbiote Gaming, because you have to consider the patch has changed it so experience is achieved actually through the towers, not just the forts. And they've been getting the pressure with the towers, 2 down in the bottom, 1 down in the top lane. And now they have Knights here for the next tribute. Everything kind of lining up here for SMG, but it's still quite early in this match.
So, Jake, you're the support expert, yeah? Mad Timmy has opted to go Twilight Dream. Sorry. Tranquility.
Tranquility.
He's gone Tranquility. Yes?
Well, on this map, Tranquility is the heal is worth quite a bit. I mean, having the additional sustain, outlasting them in the team fights, and especially when you're trying to keep an Azebo alive. When you're playing protecting Azebo, it makes the most sense by a pretty large margin.
Look at this. We see some obnoxious poking coming out of Wildfire. Oh my gosh. Every time one of their spells is off cooldown, it seems as though between Storm and the healing wave, it seems to be enough to just keep that tribute off there. At some point, SMG is going to have to go in, and they are doing that right now. A sick Shock and Awe going down.
Yeah, the huge Shock and Awe, like we said, we have the Tranquility here. Yeah, dashing forward by KO, very aggressive, but the stun is there from Iacona to keep Bims just barely alive. The middle lane is being pressured here by the Knights, and they have 2 members defending, and this is going to allow SMG to really just push down this fort. They got the 1 kill, they got the tribute, they're 1 tribute away from Curse. Looking good.
Yeah. So we see that Poom on Stitches has opted to go Gorge. There's been a bit of contention between those 2 heroics. That one in Putrid Bile has chosen to go Gorge this game. We see Strafe, Archon, pretty standard picks coming out of the other heroes. No Ultralisk this game.
No Ultralisk this game, indeed.
We're going with the standard Maelstrom.
Well, while this Grave Golem is taken, we see that we have Wildfire going for their Knights. We can take a look at the talents once again here with our new overlay that we built. And Glaurung's just going to cap this guy, and they're going to head on up to the enemy team Golem as well.
They're not going to get there in time, I do not think. If they had a bit more of a heads up on that, or maybe they were able to take their Golem faster, they might have been able to contest this. And depending on how confident they feel, they are up a tier of talent. And yes, they're not going to be able to dive in.
Well, Arthlon goes way in, kind of out of position to force to pop Odin right away. Glaurung doing as much damage as he can. He pops his heroic, gonna get that additional sustain, and he's in the front line. Keep them slowed, but Gorge goes down. Poom gonna fall immediately. Glaurung getting a lot of sustain from his ghouls, and they're gonna clean it up. It's gonna be a 5-4-0 transaction. And you know what? It looked really greedy from Arthlon. He was a bit out of position there, but he just popped the Odin and Tranquility, man. It's in this kind of scenario when you have pretty healthy team like that with a decent sized health bar.
That's exactly what happened. We saw Tranquility. Glaurung had so much control over the enemy team. I think he had probably 4 heroes from Wildfire in his Frozen Tempest the entire time, and he was just sitting there tacking on that damage. And with him getting healed up, he has Relentless. Arthlon also has Relentless, so the CCs are just not going to be doing as much effectiveness. And I think Mad Timmy grabbed Ice Block. That is the the ability for Ice Block, right? Yeah, that's it.
I believe that is Ice Block.
So here's an interesting thing that you can do, especially since he decided to go with Tranquility for his heroic choice. You can actually Ice Block and then Tranquility, and you essentially have an invincible healing field over your team. So if you know that the area you're going to be fighting in is going to be limited, which in this case on Cursed Hollow it will be, when you're fighting over those tributes, perhaps over a Grave Golem, something like that, you can just run in ahead of your team, Ice Block Tranquility, and you have a nice sustained healing field that the enemy team can do nothing about.
It's pretty darn strong.
And I've been waiting to see a team run this type of strategy.
Well, leave it to SMG to do that kind of thing. And here they are pushing in here on this top keep. Yep. The traditional SMG aggression here, doing a lot of damage already. Melting Point, like you said, continuing going to do a lot of extra damage or non-heroic extra damage to these structures.
All the heroics are up for both teams, so you could see a large engagement here. Depends on how much SMG wants to press in to take this first keep. A lot of poking going on.
And those, even just the Giants doing a lot of work. The hook goes out. If they manage to get Soldier, that would have been a big pick there because they kind of need those hooks in this kind of scenario. But Soldier just out of range, and they're gonna wait. They're gonna try to party push this.
SMG has hit level 16, so of course we see a lot more tank type talents. We have Stone Skin for both Arthas.
Well, the big initiation with a Shock and Awe going down here, and that root there on Poom. We see Strafe doing a lot of work, but immediately Tranquility goes down, just getting a ton of efficiency here. You can't stop it. The only way for them to stop it is try to Gorge him, and Gorge is not available as 3 members are down, and will Bims be able to get out of this? Looks like he'll be fine. But SMG going right on into core.
The positioning from KO in that fight was perfect, spot on. He had 3 heroes, Shock and Awe, and an overdrive Wild Hammer into you know, the blast ability on that. Just too much damage coming out of that, and there's just no way you're going to survive if you hit 3 heroes with that.
Kubi.
That was a quick one.
Dreadnought or no Dreadnought, Glaurung played quite well. Glaurung is a very good
mistakes
player.
there. I didn't see anything. So it seems as though they're working well as a team, even though they have a sub in. This is the first time I can recall them having a sub. I'm sure they have in the past, but that I've casted at least.
In recent time, I don't remember the last time we didn't see SMG in full force.
Right.
I think once or twice, maybe Soldier had to sub out because of work for a game or two, but never a full tournament. And you know what, to see such a dominant play against a team as strong as ESV Wildfire, that's, well,
impressive.
Nazeebo, the meta has been shifted officially, ladies and gentlemen. We're seeing Nazeebo back-to-back weeks. It wasn't a once-in-a-lifetime flare, and it worked out quite well.
Just the one death from Arthlon in the very beginning of the game that we talked about, you know, but that was it. I think that might have been the first death of the game, and then just from there they played very synergized. Yeah,
you're right.
It was solid.
It was only
solid play.
The singular death on the side of SMG. Didn't lose a single member in those team fights.
No.
Interesting Malfurion build, just kind of shaking things up. And we're going to get the second game ready.
Sure.
As fast as we can, but we're going to throw to a quick commercial break while we boot up the lobby, get it all ready. They got to do their map selection. So guys,
stick with us, guys.
Yes.
We'll be back in a few.